was falling and I felt like a prisoner looking out. Because that's kind of that sad. Though I was seeing my other friends getting H1B on their first attempt. First attempt they're getting H1Bs. So I am like, man, like, did I do something bad? Have I, like, what is my karma bad or something?
Hello everybody, today welcome back to our channel. We have a very special guest with us, Omkar Jagdale from Immigrant Talks. He has a growing YouTube channel, it's growing very fast. So we will share the description, his link to this channel in our description. Uh, by the way, just to give you a little background, so Omkar and I knew each other for around like 7 years now. We have been very close friends. And in this episode, what we will do is we will cover his journey, like how an international student came back stronger every time like life hits him hard. So like 3 times H1B rejects, like employer not keeping their promises, like getting laid off, and from there he actually got his H1B green card filed. So all that journey we will actually share. We will share that information with you guys. So Omkar, can we start? Can we start from the beginning? Like, let's say first job that you did is like you were a site inspector. So how that happened? The first
Yeah,
job.
yeah, definitely. Thank you for inviting me, Santo. It's so nice to be here and talk to you on a beautiful Sunday morning. Yeah, man, I remember. So, I'll start right the day I graduated from college. Okay, so graduated about I would say August of 2016. So that's when I graduate, and I get my OPT card for August 16th. So August 15th and 16th have been very good days for me. Because August 16th I came to America first time, and also 15th and 16th. That Independence Day of India. You're still proud of where you're coming from. So I always all have those dates in my mind. And so August 16th I take my this thing, because I'm like, man, I'll be free from college, never have to go back to college, I can start making money. So you get 90 days to find a job, right? On OPT you have 90 days, that time is running. I didn't had a job when I graduated out of the
Okay.
college. I had started applying in April of that
Right.
year, 2016. Can you imagine? April I started applying, and 5 6 months I was consistently applying, Santo.
Okay.
Like, I was applying maybe 15 to 20 jobs every single day, Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sundays. Sometimes I would take breaks, sometimes I would apply, but it was like consistent. And during this time, I had done a lot of interviews. I had done maybe 5 6 interviews. The only problem they wouldn't hire me was immigration. That's the
Okay.
only challenge they would do. We would go through the entire process. In the last, I would ask them the question, can you do my immigration? And they would be like, I will get back to you after a day or two. We'll talk to our HR, see what we can do.
Right.
So that was the biggest reason I was not getting a job. I had worked really hard on my skills and stuff like that. I had also done an internship in 2015. So my internship was actually in highway engineering. I was a site inspector. I would drive around the county and look at roads and stuff like that. And that's kind of like, that was my experience. So I was in the field a lot.
Right.
So it was about a month and a half, almost September. August had gone, September had came. I almost had no money. Money runs out if you don't have a job. A
Right.
month and a half, money was running out, and I had lost my car in an accident at that point. So I was borrowing, I was renting a car every time I had to go to for an interview, and I had to lie that I have a car. So these were like crazy challenges at that point of time. But long story short, September, I go into an office for an interview at this company in Detroit, and I go in, I do my interview, and in the interview, he's like, "Why?" Like, I worn a suit for a site inspector, like you site work, and I
Right.
had worn a suit for that interview. So he was really impressed. He was like really happy. He was like, "You're the sharpest person who has ever come here for a site inspector job." So it was a construction inspector job at that time. And so, we did the interview. He offered the position to me on the spot. He was like, I'll give you the position. Can you start on Monday? It was
Okay.
Friday, so he was like, I was like, yeah, I'll start it. He was like, I'll connect you to the HR. Let's see what happens. I'll get you the offer letter as soon as possible. So I
Right.
get the offer letter, and I couldn't start the Monday. It took me a week and a half to start there because of all the documentation and stuff like that. So I started working at this job in about September of 2016. It was phenomenal job, Santo. It was my first job. I was on the field. I had no idea what I was doing. That's the thing about construction. You don't know. You have done your undergrad and stuff like that. They
Yes.
just put you. They just put you there, like on the field, and they're like, figure it out. And then I'm reading these documents. They give you some books, and they're like, this is what you have to read and like figure out what they're doing. You have to measure the quantities, how much work is done. You have to be there from the start to the end. And my first day, they send me to somewhere in Detroit, and next day they say you have to go to Lansing, which is an
Okay.
hour and 15 minutes, and I have to be in Lansing at 7 a.m. on the site. So imagine now, because it's an hour and a half drive, right? So I have to start from home at like maybe 5:45.
Right.
Had to wake up at 5 a.m. so that I can take a shower and stuff like that. So I ended up there at 7 a.m. I was on the site and I was figuring all these things out. And it was difficult. I had no idea what was happening. And the job used to be from 7 to 3, 7 to 4, 7 to 5 sometimes, depending upon how much the construction workers choose to work. Because we don't decide how much long they work. They decide how much they want to work.
Right.
So you don't even know what time your day is going to end.
Hmm.
So that would happen, and then around like 5 o'clock it would end. It would be like around maybe 6:37 the time I come back home. By the time I'm home, I'm tired because I've been standing in the sun all day and stuff like that.
So nearly
But
12 hours.
yeah, it was 12 hours. 12, like 12 is just like, maybe even more because like I'm starting for work, I'm starting at 5:45 in the morning, right?
Okay.
So by the time I reach home, it's like 7. So it's like 12, 14. I'm getting paid for all that time.
Okay.
12 hours you're getting paid. So long story short, about 2 weeks later, I get my first paycheck. It was $2,000 for 2 weeks. I had never
Wow.
made so much money in my life. Not
Yeah,
only that,
first job, 2000 is a lot.
and that too for 2 weeks, right? You
Right,
make money
right.
on a monthly basis. For 2 weeks, that was so much money at that time. I had no idea how to handle it. Another thing was I didn't wrote my mileage in that. So I did not know you get paid for gas.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
all that driving I did was for free for like 2 weeks. So that was like 10 drives every day. I lost like $150 through that. So that my first paycheck would have been $4,000 almost. But I had no idea how to do these things. So I started learning after that. But long story short, what happens, Anto, in Michigan, because we have winter, we don't have, it gets so cold that they stop construction during this time. So around November 15th, my boss told me that I don't have work for you starting next week for about 2, 3 months. I don't know when I will have work. If something comes up, I'll let you know. So now I'm still employed because I'm on the roster, but I'm just sitting, and not getting paid because only if you go to site, you get paid.
Right,
So if
right.
you're just sitting and because they don't have work, you're not getting paid.
Just a quick question here, like, does it impact your OPT status? Like, if you are like, how does it work? Let's say you are a civil engineer, the situation that you just described, you are there, you are employed by the company, but they are not giving you work, like say for 2 3 months. So how
Yeah.
does it work for the OPTs case?
So to be honest, even I don't know. So here's the thing, nothing like government didn't call me and check into that. Hey, what did you do for like that time?
Okay.
Because I was
Oh,
still employed.
all
So the
right.
thing my boss told me is if you are on the roster, which is their employment, this thing, but maybe just for example, when you are like on a vacation, 4 weeks you're not really working, right? You're just getting paid. They're still doing the payroll. Here the payroll is stopped because you're not putting in the hour. So it's like you're still employed in my opinion, and that's what the company told me to. So I think that is fine. The
Okay.
only thing is you can't go like, I think there are laws in that you can't go 6 months not working and just sitting there because that would consider a fraud at one point of time. But I think if it's like 60 days or 90 days, I think that is fine because there has to be a proper explanation. There has to be an explanation that either weather is an issue, that's why there's no work, or maybe you are sick and you're taking a medical leave for 60 days, which
Right.
there is a provision. You are allowed like 90 days of mental health break in your job. Any
Oh,
job you do in America, there is a law for that. So if you're going through depression, stress, your family or someone like that, without you losing your F1, H1B or your job, you can take that 90-day leave. So just to put it out there if people need that.
right,
Yeah.
right. It's a good information. We did not know.
Yes, yes.
So let's say after that, again they called you back in, like it was a winter period. Let's say the winter went away, and then they called you back to the company. Then did you talk to them about the H1B, or you did not even go there after that winter break?
I did. I was very vocal about it. I have always been vocal. I have always been, I knew how much struggle I knew there was going to be a lot of struggle. That's why I was local. Sometimes what happens, we are so afraid to lose the job or like they'll take your job away from you that we don't even say that because we are afraid maybe there will be no income or something like that. But the problem is certain employers will take advantage of that fear. And world, the universe itself has kind of like a way of putting whoever is fear, it will shove you in the corner. That's what happens. So I knew kind of that thing. So I was very vocal. So I started talking to my boss. So the thing is, you always want to take the person you are working with in confidence. So I told him, hey, his name was Kevin, and I told him, Kevin, I really want to live in America for a long term. And me getting my H1B makes sure that I can continue doing this job for a long term. I really love my job and I enjoy coming here every day. And he knew it. He could see my enthusiasm. And I really did. You should be loving your first job. If you're not, then you're in the wrong job. Maybe it's time to change it. Don't get a job because you want money or you just want you know, immigration or something like that. You didn't. I understand that sometimes you have to sacrifice that, but if you're not happy, then change it. You have the ability to change it. Like my mentor always told me, the only thing that cannot move is a tree. Humans are not trees. You can move. So make sure we move. If it's not, you're not liking something, you need to move. So coming back to that, Santo, so in that 2.5 months, something that was going through my mind is like, I'm not going to let this job control me. So I was going out, I was applying for jobs, I was attending career fairs, and that's the career fair I met you at Wayne State University. And I would take my friends with me. You met a lot of my friends at that point. I would drag everybody and I would be like, hey, let's go here and talk to people, because that's how you meet new people, that's how you build your connections and stuff like that. So you don't have to attend only your university's career fair. You can go to other people's career fairs, attend it. There are 5 universities in my area. I would go to every single university's career fair
Yeah,
because
this is also a learning point. Like many students, I never went to other universities career fair. Like actually we met at my university, Wayne University. He also came to attend our career fair. So I think this is also one of the learning points that people can take, that it's not just your career fair you should focus on. Other career fairs, it's a good idea to invest your time there also.
absolutely. I mean, Santo, it's about how hungry you are. Like, if you want, like, imagine, let's say it snowed outside all day. Okay. This most probably had happened with you also. It's a snowstorm and there is nothing in your fridge to eat, right? But then what happens? You start looking deeply. There may be like, some cucumber, old ones, or there is some vegetable in there from like 1 month or 2 months, which you are like, you never want to eat if you have options. But then when you don't have it, you are like, man, I better eat this because I'm going to be hungry. There may be a couple of pieces of bread, some butter, you'll put it on that and eat it. And that's what my mindset was like, whatever I can get at this point of time, I'm going to do it. So it's like, you become hungrier and hungrier as time gets tough. The problem with most people is they get hungry when the food is about to run out. I knew that, so I was always preparing either a month before everything was going to die. I was always prepared in my mind because
Right.
I kind of knew this is my own battle. Nobody's gonna come to help you. I can't depend on friends to get me a job. This is not India where you can just call up or like dad or somebody who has relationships and be like, okay, let this kid have a job. So it was always about me and my fight to figure out America.
Right.
That was the goal I had. So around that time, so things happened. He got me back to job. So I kind of slowed down. I was like, I have a job back. Let me slow down here, just focus on my job. And I started focusing. Around March, I started pushing. Like, I need an H1B, I need an H1B. Because at that time, April 1st, they used to apply for H1B. So we started looking into it. I looked into a consulting company. My mentor, one of my mentors, suggested me the consulting company. Um, the consulting company said, we'll do your H1B. You just have to get permission from the employer. So at that time, the HR was not helpful at that point. The HR was like, oh, this is too much process. She was going to have to do a lot of work. And she was very also like kind of rude to me also at that point, where she was like, we are not going to do this. And like she asked me when my OPT ends, and my OPT was ending on August, right? August, it was
Right.
1 year OPT, so August it was ending, and Do you know what she told me? That day, she wrote my letter and told me, this is your last day. This is in March. She's giving me this letter in this thing that this
Wow.
is going to be your last day. So imagine, like, it's like, it felt really bad because, like, I mean, if I had more, uh, it was also not an e-verified company, so I could not continue my STEM also there. So you need to
Right,
be an
right.
e-verified so to get your STEM approved.
Hmm.
They were not also that. So that was my biggest problem. They were not willing to help. They were not willing to go out of their way. And I told my boss that. He took his hands up. He's like, I can't do much. HR is something, they have to figure it out. So I kind of knew. Now here's the thing. Most people, they would have waited for August to end, finish their jobs and apply for jobs, or they would have most probably changed their jobs in August. That's what I see with people. I was like, the day I found out she's not gonna do it, I came home, I started applying for jobs again. And this time I was like, man, I'm going to find a better job, better pay, and I'm going to make sure that, my H1B is taken care of. I was not going to go to a company which was not going to do my HR,
Right,
H1B.
right. So your
So,
first year H1B they did not file, right? So we
yeah,
have three chances. So first year the chance is gone, right?
yeah.
And then
So
the
I didn't
next
even
year,
apply. Yeah,
yeah, and the
yeah.
next year you are trying to find a better job. Okay. Now just
Yes.
want to for the viewers to understand how things are going. So okay.
Absolutely. So that happened, Santa. And so it was really sad at that point of time. Fear, your fear is like this thing. You're afraid. You're like, shit. A lot of things are happening. Money was coming though, money was coming. So I was a little bit comfortable. Money is very, very powerful. That's why I always tell students, save money. Make sure you have a little bit, saved up, because money will, if you have lot of stress and money stress also comes, then you will not be in a great position.
Right.
And that's something you don't want to be in. I had a lot of money challenges, I'll explain later, but they just affect you really negatively. So here's what happened. I started applying for jobs and stuff like that. But you see, the seeds I have planted the year before, Santo, because I had applied 10 jobs a day for so many years, so many months, right? So I had applied maybe close to 1,000, 1,500 jobs or more, even more than that. It
Acha.
was ridiculous. And this was all concentrated in Michigan. I
Hmm.
was like, I'm going to find a job in Detroit area. I did not wanted to move out of Michigan at that point of time. So I was like, I know there is one job with my name written in this area. My goal is to find that.
Right.
That's all my goal was. So I kept applying every day after that. But then here's what happened. There's a company in Ann Arbor who emails me by themselves. I don't even email them.
Okay.
And this guy emails him. His name is Chris. He emails me and he says, hey, last year you sent me a resume for a position we had. We had to close that at that point, but we have a position open now. Would you be interested in coming and giving an interview? Also send me your updated resume. So my new experience, he does not have that.
Right.
And he's still looking for somebody with a site inspector experience. So when I sent him my new resume, he was very excited because he wanted somebody to do design work and do site inspection.
Okay.
So it was like a perfect job for me at that point. And so they raised my salary. They gave me $54,000 at that point of time. This is 2017. That was good money for a new grad at that point of time.
In
It was
civil engineering.
in civil engineering, and I had a bachelor's. I didn't have a master's, so it was good money. So I started job. They said they'll do my H1B. 10 people company, only two civil engineers, about eight landscape architectures. So it was more of a landscape architecture firm, and I was just doing like some civil engineering work with like drainage and stuff like that. So started working there, worked there for a year. It was a good company. The culture and stuff like that was okay, okay. The only issue was it was an hour drive for me from again Detroit. It was in Ann Arbor. Every morning I used to drive an hour. So I had to be there at 8 to 5. I used to work and I would get a 1 hour lunch. The problem was it was a very boring job. It was very mundane because there was no excitement. Everybody there just came for their paychecks, and it was just not thrill, man. I remember one day it was snowing outside and I had to drive an hour and a half in the morning in the snow, and to get to work. It was really difficult at that point. I was at work and around 11 a.m. tears just started coming off my eyes automatically. I'm not even doing anything. I'm just working. And I look outside, that's kind of feeling I was getting there because it was so boring and I was just there for making money and living in America. It was not a career. It was not something I was going to grow out of. But here is the thing, in it's about paying the price. You have to, just like a prison, just like anything else, you have to serve the time to get out, right? So it was like me giving serving my time. I was paying the price, I was serving that time. But when those tears came out, this was about Santo February of 2018. Okay.
The
So
next
my
year.
yeah, 2018, next year. So my body at that point is telling me that this is not the right thing for you. In my mind, I had started thinking that one day I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to walk away from this office, and I will never have to come back the next morning, because I used to dread. I used to always think like tomorrow morning I have to do that drive again, and I used to hate that drive. I loved the view, but the anticipation as I came closer to Ann Arbor, I was like, shit, I have to go to work. Shit, I have to go to work, and it was just not this. There was no thrill. I came to America for thrill. I didn't come to America for like sitting in an office doing this and not enjoying it, you know. So, long
Just
story
want to,
short,
yeah, just
yeah.
want 1 second. So this was you already the we have like 3 years of H1B, right? This was your second year. So you all they already promised that they will do your H1B, right? When you got the job. So what happened there also, if you can
So
share?
that's what. So in March, I started talking to my boss. I was like, "Hey, we need to do this H1B. You promised it. Let's start this." So we started looking into it and stuff like that, and we hired a lawyer. We started conversation with a lawyer, and they asked me for my documents and stuff like that. The company had to pay $1,500, $2,000, which was too much for them. They were acting as if that's a lot of money. They were like, "We'll give half, you give half," but the problem is they have to pay. Like we cannot pay that. They have
Right.
to pay. Like it's a law by the USCIS. So they were like doing a little bit song and dance around it, even though they promised it. And then second thing was that for an employee in Ann Arbor, the minimum salary for H1B at that time was $68,000.
Okay.
So that was a big challenge, because you see, in Ann Arbor, most of the civil engineers were experienced at that time. In other cities, there are junior engineers also. So the cost of average civil engineering salary comes down in other cities. At that point, Ann Arbor was very high, 68,000. So so we had another office in Traverse City and stuff like that. So we were trying to see if I can maybe change my location to other this thing and maybe work from there or something like that. We were trying to
Right.
see. They were not willing to do a lot of support and stuff like that. And one day I remember, like Wednesday night, I sent an email around 5 p.m. to my boss. I'm like, hey boss, we really need to figure out a way to get this done, because otherwise I will lose another attempt, and after one more year of work I won't be able to stay in America and work in America. So I think him and other owners took a decision at that day. I come to work next day. It's a Thursday around 4:30. You know, he calls me into the office. He's like, "Hey, let's go into the conference room." They get me into the conference room and they fire me. They are like, "Hey, we don't have work anymore. We are kind of slowing down, so we are going to let you go." Which was an obvious lie. I was the civil engineer. There are only two civil engineers. I know how much work there is. You know, there's plenty of work to go around. But they didn't want to do my H1B, so they made this excuse because it was getting a little bit tricky for them. It was going to cost them $2,000-3,000, and they were just looking at this as a hassle. They were not looking at it as if like, hey, I'm going to help this employee figure out his immigration in America, you know. And
So yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, no, I'm saying so there is a lot of to learn from you right here, because this is your second attempt. When they promise that they will actually file your H1B, they let you go, right? And I remember actually that day, if I can share it with the audience, you actually called me and we went to Chicago, right? And you when the day we got like laid off, and you never shared the experience with me, like what was actually going through your mind at that point, like yeah, because I know you personally for 7 years now. I know that you have faced such difficult times and you always came back stronger, right? And right now we know your situation. Your H1B is filed, your green card is filed, you got so everything is set in that scenario, and you are currently working for one of the top infrastructure consulting firm. So basically, we would like to learn from these scenarios when you faced this sort of challenges. So how was your mindset at that point of time that you went with me to Chicago, never discussed anything like that? So how were you mentally like confident that you can find a next job and the next year for sure your H1B will be filed? So how was your thought process?
That's a very good question, Sayanto. You know, the thing is, you see, all I have done in my life until then was preparing me for that one scenario. That's how I looked at it. Because I was like, you know, I was part of a entrepreneurship group at that time, and I was learning a lot of mindset from them. And I remember somebody said that every adversity has a seed for an equal or greater benefit. So I knew in my mind, like, okay, right now I cannot see past this. This is a big challenge. I cannot see past this. But what I'm going to do is I am going to be that person who is going to take the entire wrath of this event. Because if I tell my parents, they are going to be in stress. They're going to be like, man, the kid is in America, he's lost his job, he doesn't have money and stuff like that. So it would cause them more stress. So I didn't tell my dad about this for about until I found my next job. I didn't tell him about it. So he did not know that I did had a job. He was just like, great, proud of you for 2 months. When I did had a job, I just was like, I didn't tell people. My friends didn't knew. You were one of them. There were friends who lived right next door. I would, I wouldn't show my face to people from 9 to 5. I would go and sit in a library and apply for jobs from 9 to 5 because I didn't had a job. So what was my job? My job was to apply for a job. So 9 to 5, as if I would dress up and I would go and sit there and I apply for jobs there. I would apply 15, 20, 30, 50 jobs every day. But the confidence was there somewhere, Samantha. I don't know where it came from. Maybe because I had found 2, 3 jobs before that. So I knew, I was like, if I put in the effort, I knew I will find a job. Again, I always believe that there is one job with my name written on it and I have to find it. This is always my mindset. Like, there is one job. I need one job. How hard it is going to be if I put in the work, right? So that was my mindset. Another thing, I always tell, money is a very powerful weapon, very powerful tool. So what had happened, Santo, I had worked at that company for about 7 or 8 months. But I had told myself that every month I used to get $4,000. They used to pay us monthly. So I would get $4,000. And as soon as the first day comes, I would put $1,000 towards my saving. So every month, without losing, I had saved $1,000. So 7 months I had saved $7,000, and they had some vacation वगैरह built up. So I got maybe $3,000-4,000 from that. So I had $7,000 to $10,000 in my bank account. So I knew 2, 3 months I can figure out. I don't need money for 2, 3 months, and I will figure this out. No problem then. So that was my mindset. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna do the things I need to do. So like, I just need to figure out 4 to 5 hours every day to apply for jobs. Everything is a gift of time to me because now I don't have a job. I'm free. I can enjoy my time. It was like a summer vacation for me. So I was laid off in March 8th. So I thought to myself, okay, 60 days I'm going to find a job. I told myself. 60 days later, I wrote it down. I started looking at it. I believe in the power of written goals. So I wrote it down and I would look at it every day. And I started taking action towards that. But another thing I took was I said, I'm going to enjoy America now because I had a little bit money. And so what I started doing is I started traveling on the weekends. So I remember when we had that happen, I called you around like 3 p.m. Because I found out about this event in Chicago and I was like, bro, I'll pick you up. And you are 2 hours away from me in Grand Rapids. I'll pick you up. We'll go to Chicago. We'll have fun. We'll do this event. I'll drop you at night back and I'll come to Michigan. And that was the plan at that time. So I picked you up around like 5:30. You had come off job. We were in Chicago around 7:30. We attended the event. It was phenomenal. We had a blast. We even had good food in the night. I remember having that burger and a milkshake. And then we drove back 3 hours to Grand Rapids. And I think I dropped you around like 3 a.m. And I drove
I,
back to Michigan.
yeah, I had to attend the office next day at around 6 or 7. So barely slept for 2, 3 hours.
I know, I remember, yeah. So, yeah, it was so much fun to be honest, and you remember these kind of things you did, right? So, I remember reaching home around like 7. We hadn't slept for like 24 hours almost, and then just going to sleep, waking around 11, 12, and applying for jobs again because that was my job. It was like a Tuesday morning, I think, when we came back. So, the mindset was whatever my duty is, which is applying for jobs 4 to 5 hours, I'll do it, and then rest of the time I'm gonna enjoy because there is nothing I can do. If I worry about it, there is nothing I can. If my worry gave me that job, I would worry all the time. But I knew it was like a stoic approach that thinking it clearly, and I knew I was like, okay, it's just useless. So I took that time. I started driving, Sando. I rented a car once, and I just went to Washington D.C. for a conference, and I attended that conference there. I hung out with my friends. I met a couple of new friends there. I had one of my college friends. I went and saw him. So I started doing these random things over the weekends. So weekend I would go and enjoy America and stuff like that. But Monday to Friday, I would be in Michigan applying for jobs.
Right.
So I wanted to take the best out of it because here is the thing. I know a lot of people lost jobs right now with the tech industry and stuff like that. And when I get a call from people, I tell them this is a gift of time. Universe is telling you you need this time for yourself. So why don't you grow yourself, update couple of skills, and go and find a better job? So coming
Right.
out of that, Santo, I found a great company.
Hmm.
2 months, literally. Like, I lost my job on March 8th, right? May 9th or May 10th, I had an offer letter in my hand from another company, and they gave me offer on the spot. Like on the spot, they were like, "Hey, we love you. We'll hire you." It was a phenomenal company in Royal Oak area. Great people, the best people I've ever worked with, and they gave me the offer. They gave me $2,000-3,000 more on top of that, and it was a phenomenal company. And I worked there for 2-3 months, but I had also gotten to an interview to the company where I work currently, and I got a $10,000 raise from them. So basically,
And
me losing.
also, this current company is like the one of the top companies in infrastructure
Yeah,
consulting.
it's one of the best companies, one of the top 5 companies in US at this point of time. And that's the struggle you will have to go through. If your first job is directly into a top company, then maybe you may not appreciate the smaller companies and the challenges and stuff like that you have to go through. But I feel like because I'm here today, I will finish about 5 years into this company this year in August, and yeah, I do really appreciate what they give me today because I know the difficult path I had to take. So, but if you really see Sando, March 8th, 2018, right? So, March 8th, 2018, I lose my job and I was making about $55,000. I get the new job at my current company on August. So in 6 months, I went from making $55,000 to $66,000. That's $11,000 raise, and I changed 2 jobs between that. So one new job and another job, right? So it's like the power of changing jobs also kind of like I understood. And because I got laid off, I'll be honest with you, if I had not gotten laid off, I would still be working there today, Santo, because I it's just like my mentality has always been, I like to be loyal to, somebody who, if they give me something, I want to, like, give it back. I want to serve them a little bit more than what they've done for me. So just imagine they would only give $1,500 raise. I would still be making maybe about $65,000 if I stayed there.
And you also don't like the environment, the work. You said it
Yes.
was a mundane job, right?
Yeah. And so just going from there to 6 months, my life changed. So that was a great thing that happened to me. You can only look at that looking backwards. Looking forward, you're like, I don't know what's going to come out of this.
Right.
So now because I've lived a little bit of life, I know every challenge I get, there's something better out behind it. I always believe that. And I think it's in your belief. If you're believing that, then there is always something behind greater there. So, long story short, Santo, I got into this big company. I started loving my work. They were amazing people. Monday started feeling great again. I used to look forward on Sunday night to get back to Monday in office because I was working on 26th floor. The view, I used to have beautiful view of Canada. People were friendly. Everybody was nice at office, and they would teach you, they would help you, they would make help you grow. So it was a great culture. And so things were doing really great. Next year, that was my third attempt,
Third
and this
attempt, yeah.
for H1B 2019. But this was the first time ever I was going to apply for my H1B.
Yeah. And this is a last attempt also.
This is the last attempt, so the first and the last attempt, I only had one chance to apply for H1B, if you really see. And as I have an undergrad, so I didn't had a lot of, like, chances, to be honest, because I didn't even get that 15,000 extra quota. So long story short, didn't get that H1B.
Yes, so just want to say to viewers, so the third time the new company, which is the infrastructure consulting firm you are working with, they applied for your H1B the last time, and you guess what? You did not get it. So
Yeah.
basically, your three chances are gone, right? So this is another period where there is a stress because all your three chances are gone. So okay, so let you to continue after this. So what did you do after this? Like, how did you handle this stress? This is a new challenge again.
I know. So this really was something bigger than I have ever experienced. Job loss is even fine, I felt like. But, like, the way, you know, that's one problem about listening to too much positive stuff is you start believing all this BS, on the positive. It's too much positive because what happened is, like, I had heard this statement. God will or universe will never give you a challenge you cannot handle. And every challenge I was getting was bigger than before. I was like, shit, now you're gonna give me this again. I have can't you see how much struggle I've gone through?
Right.
And the problem was not that, Santo. I was seeing my other friends getting H1B on their first attempt. First attempt, they're getting H1Bs. So I am like, man, like, did I do something bad? Have I, like, what is my karma bad or something like that? That I am like not able to, um, get these things. And it was really like all things that bad I could think about, I started thinking at that point.
So you went to a little bit of negative cycle that point.
I did. It's natural. It's so natural to go through that. If I would say like, hey, I was totally positive, it would be really a lie. The thing was though, is like, I wouldn't tell what I'm thinking to other people. I would get maybe one or two people who are very, very close to me. I would share them that I don't know how to figure it out. I'm trying to do this and stuff like that. But I wouldn't like go out there and spill this negative or like all this dirt because I knew again, I have to figure it out. And I knew there is way. If you're looking really hard, there is always a way. I knew that. So I started talking to people. I was like, because my only option at this point, which I knew at that point, was going back to masters. Going back to masters, take a break from job for a year, and then second year I could get on CPT internship, right? And then get my job again and continue that second year working, and then after graduating I'll get 3 years of OPT again, because this is my master's first degree. But then 1 year gap, I don't have money. I don't have $25,000 saved up for 1 year again, and I had blown my savings at that point because I had called my parents to America, so I had sponsored that trip and stuff like that. I had bought a car at that time, so I was actually in debt. I didn't even had savings at this point. So now this was a bigger challenge because I didn't even have money to show how to go to masters, at that point of time, like how to show money for masters. And so it was a lot of struggle. So what happened is, this is around maybe May, April I find out. May, June, July were my months where I started figuring out, okay, how can I stay in America? So I started going in Detroit area and started applying for colleges. So I went to Walsh College. It was a cheaper college, $30,000 MBA degree. They said we'll give you the admission and stuff like that. My GPA was also bad for undergrads, Ananto. My GPA was 2.4 only. I graduated with bare minimum GPA, and it was like I just somehow passed. So that was a challenge too, because masters you need a 3.0 GPA in the US.
Right.
So that's why like I had to again find colleges which would give me. Then I started talking to different people. I started buying people lunches. And I would go out and talk to people, be like, okay, how can I figure this out? I would hear about people figuring out. They didn't get H1B 3 times and stuff like that. I would look up online. There was no information online at that point of time about what to do after H1B if you're attempted. Most people would just go back to India, or they would do a PhD or something like that. But then you're losing time. You're not working. You're losing income. You're losing time. You maybe end up doing degree which you don't want to do. So around that time, I think I bought about 40-50 lunches to people. So many people, I went out and talked to them. And I was just eating brains at that time. I was like, I want to know what you know. I want to know what you know. I was taking random people's phone number from a friend. I would talk to a friend, a colleague in the office. I was like, hey, I heard like you told me sometime about your friend didn't get H1B, because I would remember conversations I had had. And so I asked her like, can I talk to your friend? Then I would take her friend's number, talk to her, and that friend would tell me, well, I'm not doing it, my boyfriend is doing it. Then I would take his number and call. So, and they would give me time. They would talk to me. They would tell me, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what's happening and stuff like that. So I figured out at that point of time that from so many people that there are 3 or 4 universities in US which are doing it legally. They're allowing you to work from your day one because the program is designed in such a way. And there are 2 or 3 universities in Michigan. University of Michigan, top university, they do it. And at that point, there was another university, local university, I'm not going to name them, but I got a reject. I didn't even get an admit from them because I was planning to go there. Because I was like, why would I drive or fly somewhere else? So this university rejected me, and that was sad. But it was expensive too. It was $45,000 there for my master's. It was an MBA degree, and I had to attend classes on a weekly basis. But then I found out about Harrisburg University in Pennsylvania, and that's the girl whose boyfriend I spoke to, he was going there. So
Okay.
imagine I have taken four numbers in middle, you know. So four people were connected to me, so that I can get this information, you know. But here is what I figured out, Santa, at that point of time. You are three or four people from the answer you are seeking. So anything you want in life, you're about two, three, four people away from that. You just have to build that cycle. So anytime somebody tells you, hey, my friend might know it, you have to bug them, you have to push them. Hey, can I have their contact? Can you send me a link to them? Build that relationship with that person, and that person will be like, hey, I know someone who's doing something. And you again be nice to them, hey, can you connect to me? Because I am really seeking it. And you will find the answer. I know anything you're looking for, as a matter of fact, in my opinion. So
That's
that
very
kind of lesson I learned at that point. Yeah.
no. I mean, very interesting. So the next time, so you went to this college. Let's say you went to this college, CPT day one CPT, and so basically right now you are still working for your company in a CPT visa, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So and
So
this time, yeah,
go
this
ahead, go
time
ahead.
they filed for your H1B, the
Yes.
fourth time basically.
Yes. So
Okay.
here is what happened, Santo. So I started, I looked into HU, I started going studying there, you know, and there were a lot of challenges. I didn't have the money to show and stuff like that. I remember taking help from you and a couple of other friends to show money in my bank account. And it was difficult at that point of time because I didn't had it, you know, I didn't have that, unfortunately. So I'm really grateful for people like you helping out. But another message here is make friends who are, you know, make good friends in life, you know, make friends who you can help and who you can help you back, because your friends are going to be your family in America, and they are going to be the ones saving you. So always I had a mindset that, hey, I'm going to have good people around me, and in tough times they are the only ones I can ask for help, because I didn't had any family here, unfortunately. So that was the mindset I would say to build. But okay, so I get back into Harrisburg in fall of 2019. Now I'm doing my full-time work, I'm doing my classes, and I'm attending classes once a semester on campus.
Hmm.
So fortunately, because money was coming in, this was good, because like I could pay for my college. It was $5,500 per semester, and I had to fly once a month. So I was doing maybe like, you know, another 700, $800 I was spending on like drive and coming back. So that one trip would cost me maybe, if I drive, it would be $400 or so, because $150 for driving, Airbnb, food, and stuff like that. So that was cheaper. So my boss was really helpful. So I would take off on Friday around 2 o'clock. I would start driving. It was a 6.5, 7 hour drive. So I would drive from here to Pennsylvania, and I would reach there around 10, 10:30. Sometimes I would get tired, so I would take a nap and I would
It's
reach my
8 hour drive.
8 hour drive. Yeah. So it would end up being 8 hour with stops and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So, um, and so it was fun. My first drive was really fun because this was a new challenge, and stuff like that. You will be a little bit negative in when this happens to you. You will be like, why me? That's the question you will always ask, like, why me? Why do I have to go through this struggle? But when I ended up there, Santo, I was happy beyond imagination. I was so happy because I met another 200, 300 people at orientation, Indians, Chinese, and they were all the same. They didn't get their H1B three times. They
The
were
three
there.
times they all were did not get, most at least did not get H1B three
Yeah.
times.
There are
So
only
you
reason people came there. Yeah, that was the only reason people came there. And there were other people who just wanted to do masters, or this was their first masters in America. But that was the reason. And so that's when I was like, I'm nobody special. You know, I'm not the only person going through this challenge. So I was kind of calmed down. That just calmed me down. I was like, man, like, I am thinking I'm too special to only go through this challenge. There are other people going through it. So that gave me a lot of confidence. And I was like, okay, I can handle this. If so many people are doing, I can handle this. So um, so that happened, and then I started doing classes. First semester is very difficult because you're working and studying full time. It's very, very difficult. It took me time to adjust to that because I was spending about 10 to 15 hours on top of my work, to do my studying, you know. So that was difficult. Second semester it got easier because, you know, you have figured it out. So second semesters, you are like, you know how to manage your time better, you know how to do your homeworks and stuff like that. There was a lot of writing involved because it was a master's in project management. Um, so just to give a little bit idea, I did my master's in project management with my CPT because I was doing a civil engineering job, and that way I was able to connect that, hey, like my work is related to my major, because when you go to a D1 CPT college, you have to prove to USCIS that whatever you're doing is legal and ethical, and that's very, very critical. So there are very few universities in America who do it legally and ethically. So Harrisburg is one of them. If you need help, I currently work with Harrisburg. I love working with them. And if you need help, if you're listening to this and want a referral to the university or want me to check your documents and stuff like that, you can send me an email or connect with me on my Instagram. I'll ask Sandra to post my link in the bio
Sure,
here.
sure.
So I'm more than happy to help you get into the university and review any documents you want me to. So saying that, uh, so April of 2020, Sayanto, this is April of 2020, pandemic has
Fourth
happened.
year.
Yeah,
Oh,
now
okay.
pandemic, March,
Okay.
March, pandemic happened. One good thing happened out of this, out of pandemic, was now I don't have to fly and spend $700 every month, because I started saving that money. And also, like, because pandemic rules changed, you can study from home now, and you don't have to attend classes, so everything became online. um, so I started saving that money, and my company applied for my H1B that year. uh, Within 2 weeks I found out I had gotten my H1B. I was happy beyond imagination. I was like, man, my challenges of 4 years are ended here. So that was this thing. Around 2 months later, I get an email from my lawyer, company lawyer, that I have gotten an RFE, which is request for evidence that whatever I have done is legal and ethical. And now I'm like, man, again, new challenge. It's like the God is just testing me at this point. It really felt a test at that point. Because I was like, everything I'm trying to do, there is like this thing in the middle, like in Hindu culture, we say Shani, you have 7 years of bad omen, right? Or something like that. So I felt like that. And it was like everything I want to do, there is so much challenge. So, uh, but then I sit down again. I sit down with my lawyer. We figure out how to answer this. He said, if you provide evidence properly, you will get this answered. So I was smart about this. I knew if something like this happens, I was preparing from my day one, because at that point I knew, right, life is not easy for me. It was difficult for me. But there is a message in this, guys. In the end, I'll tell you what is the message. Because life does get easy later on, you know. So what happened there, Sando, is I had collected every single document that I was going to Harrisburg. Like I had collected my flight tickets. And purposely I flew, because sometimes getting those gas receipts are difficult, right? How do you prove you're going to college, right? So I had
Right.
purposely flown a couple of times to show that I have this flight ticket. So I was thinking in that way also, and it became easy also for me. So, so flight tickets I had Airbnb tickets, receipts, but then I had also gotten a parking fine once in Harrisburg. I had kept that parking ticket also, so that was legitimate that I was there attending the class and I got a ticket, So anything you can prove. I ate in an Indian restaurant. Every time I went there, I collected that ticket receipt. So it was like I was preparing evidence that I was on campus, I was learning. I had even taken some pictures with my friends at campus. So it's like, you're building alibi, you're building this proof that you are there. And then I wrote a really nice like letter about what I do at my work and what I study at my classes, how they combine with each other. And I had written a beautiful one-page explanation of that. And that is what I submitted my lawyer. He collected all these documents, and HU also does an RFE document for you for about $250, $300. They do this document and they help you out with your RFE, which is only one of the universities that does this, this is one of the reasons I always promote HU, because I first of all went there. I know it's a great college to work with, and then they help you with all these things, because immigration is a big challenge and you need help at that point. And there are some colleges who just take their hands up. They just want to make money. So that's what I really appreciated. So we sent in the RFE and I got my RFE answered, and that was it. In again, the problem was my lawyer took 2 months to get back to RFE and stuff like that. So it took 2 months for us to send that document, and my CPT ended. I had taken a 1 year CPT, right?
Right.
I couldn't take second year CPT because I did not know if my RFE was get approved or not. Because if I took my second year RFE, then I would lose 3 years of OPT.
Plus OPT, yes.
So I had to go on unemployment at that point of time. So I couldn't be, so I left my CPT. I continued doing my college because college was what's keeping me in America. So I had to leave the job. For 2 months, I did had a job at that point because my lawyer kind of like did this late and stuff like that, you know. So I lost a lot of time, lot of money, about 10 weeks, not 2 months, it was 10 weeks. So lost a lot of income during that time, about almost close to $20,000 of income, if you really see, right?
Right.
10 weeks, you know, it's like, it's a lot of money, right? So, uh, 15, 20,000. So eventually I got it approved. I got my H1B document, it got approved, and I think that was where I kind of like, you know, was a little bit happier at that point of time. Like, okay,
And
this is done
yeah, I
now.
mean, after so much of struggle for 4 years, yeah, it's obvious that you will be happy like when it came approved. And but your company was, I mean, very willing to do your green card even just in 6 months of time, right? So that came very smooth for you, because many people, they
Yeah.
get the, like me, like I got my H1B very smooth, like first attempt I got it, but my green card was a challenge. Like they were not doing my green card, but after eventually they have started doing, this company has started doing, so that's good. But your green card experience came smooth, so you faced the challenge in the initial phase, but the next phase it came very smooth to you, right? So if you want to explain a couple
Yeah.
of words how it worked.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, I have paid my price, right? Those 2 years which I did not get my H1B, I was still employed at my company. So my company has a law that if you finish 2 years at our company, we'll apply for your green card. So these 2 years of challenges I was going through, I had never thought about green card. And as soon as I got my H1B, I was like, oh shoot, I'm already eligible for green card. So I emailed my boss and stuff like that, and we started the process. Because of pandemic and again some mistakes with immigration and stuff like that at my firm, it was really delayed. You know, instead of happening in a year and a half, it took me 2.5 years to, you know, get that thing. But at this point of time, you know, I'm grateful that they have pushed. I've gotten a very amazing team behind me. My boss and my supervisor are very, very helpful. They always push for it. Anything I need, they're always there for me. So the message also in this Sando is building that relationship uh, with your supervisor, building that relationship with your manager. Because if you really see, company may be great, the culture may be great, but nobody cares about you except your manager. That's the only person who cares about you. The company does not care about you because there are hundreds of other employees. So if you want something done in your for you, you have only one person who can do it for you, and that's your boss, because he is going to go out there and advocate for you. So the way you perform, the way you build your relationship with your boss, the kind of rapport you have, that's going to be very, very critical. So over the years, I had made sure that I built great relationship with my manager. I proved myself. I built that, you know, attitude. I wanted them to count on me. So today, you know, if they have new work, they have new project, they can always call me anytime, be like, hey Omkar, I need this done, can you work on this? So they knew they could count on me. And similarly, I built that relationship where I'm be like, hey, can I count on you? Hey boss, can I count on you? I need this done. And they always deliver too. So it's a two-way path, and it's been so much fun to work at a good company. So working at a good, healthy company, good people, um, that is the reason I came to America, because I wanted to work with good people. I wanted to be around good people.
No, great, great lessons we got out of this video sessions. It's almost like 53 minutes.
Yeah.
So we actually covered your entire journey, and really we got a lot of insight from your brain, basically. So yeah, thank you for sharing time, for giving your time. So any last words that you want to share with our audience, like how they should, in times of stress, how they should keep their nerves, like keep it calm, take it easy. So if you want to share any last message with the
Yeah,
viewers.
definitely, Santo. Yesterday itself, I was thinking about this actually. You know, we sometimes look at other people and compare their journey to our journey. And you may be looking at someone usually we look at somebody whose journey is easier than ours. We will never compare our journey to somebody on the street who doesn't have legs and is begging, you know. If you compare that to them, you will always feel happy, right? You'll be like, man, I have full, I'm healthy, I have a roof, I have food, I have clothing, and you know, you will feel so good about yourself. But then the problem only comes when you start comparing to people who are doing a little bit better than us, or who are a little bit ahead, who are a little bit fortunate, and that's what happens. The thing is, imagine this, Sando. Imagine, let's say I live in Detroit, Michigan, and my goal is to get to Miami, Florida, right? Now, I have other friends also who with me who want to go to Florida, you know. Imagine this. I have other co-workers, I have other people I know, they want to go to Florida. But the problem is the way university is designed, everybody has a different vehicle. So that person, one person may be, you know, he might get started in a car. He's already driving his way ahead. He's in Ohio or he's in Washington, already 8 hours ahead of you. And you are like, you look at him, you are like, man, why am I still at home? He's already started the journey. You know, somebody might be taking a train and they are like, their path is easy, they're relaxed, they don't even have to drive. You know, you are like, man, this person just works at Google or something like that. You are like, they're just chilling, they're just making 250 grand a year or something like that, right? And then you may be, let's say, imagine you're taking a flight. You may be just sitting in a flight and you're waiting. The pilot is just wasting your time. 1 hour, he's just, oh, he's calling the control tower and stuff like that. But the problem is when you take off, you might just get there in 2 hours. So you may be thinking this all song and dance is happening. You're just marinating there and nothing is happening for you. So you may not be seeing. But so the thing is, you don't know how fast you are going to get to the destination or what lies in your own journey, you know. So that's how I believe. So we should never, you know, judge our journey with somebody else's, because if somebody asks me, will you trade your journey with someone else, I would say no. I know I've gone through challenges, but the amount of fun I have had and the lessons I have learned, I don't want not to learn them. I want these lessons. I'm appreciative of these lessons because I know I'm strong enough. And you know, I'll tell you a small story. I remember at about one point, it was so difficult, Santo, the money during my student life, that I only had $20 one week. You know, I was telling my girlfriend this yesterday, and you know, it was like I only had $20, and I had a car at that time because I would use the car to go to school and come back. And I didn't have this $20. I had $20 worth of coins. I would collect coins, you know, whenever you pay cash. And I had run out of money and I had this coin. So I go to my local store, put those coins and take dollars out of it. There was a machine that would, you put coins and they take 10% of that and give you the money back. So I'd gotten $22 at that time. And so I needed money for gas and I needed money for food. So for the entire week, I bought hummus and bread. You know, it was one of my favorite food, and I got 10-15 breads, you know, like it's like chapati kind of thing. And I bought hummus for a week. And that was enough for me for the week, because I knew I was not eating a lot at that point of time. One bread in the morning, one bread in the evening, and the hummus was really large. So I knew I could figure out 5-6 days with that. And then I paid $15, so $7-8 for food, and $15 I put gas, and I was like, I'm set. I knew I didn't need any money, Santo, outside of that. There was nothing else I needed. So my needs were so less at that point of time. And that's what gave me the confidence. Like, hey, if I can figure out in $20, so today my confidence comes from that hard time, Santo. So today I look at it like, okay, if everything is taken away from me, all my money, all my clothes, everything else, and they're like, just like, maybe clothes, keep it. But if I have my car and if I have $20, I think I can figure out life again. Because that's the lowest I had, right? So that's kind of like the mindset I have learned from few other people who have gone through these struggles, is like, okay, if you give me the basics of what I had, the lowest point you had in life, I think you can come back from there. So just remembering that, hey, you know, you have gone through challenges and you have still come back. I think sometimes we forget about it and we don't give ourselves the credit that I can go through this. We forget the tough times you have gone through. So I think it's a great idea to record those and talk about it and sharing it with your close friends and family. Not everyone, you know, it's not about something boasting, but sharing it with people closest to you. I think it gives you an appreciation for yourself, and it proves that you can do it again. I think that's
Great,
all.
man.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we actually learned a lot in this lesson. I think sure the viewers will appreciate the struggles that you went through, you had, and how you overcame those challenges. So no, thank you so much for giving us the time. So yeah, I think we can end the session right here. So yeah,
Awesome, Santo. Thank you for having me here. I had a blast talking to you. We need to share your story too. You know, I know you had a much amazing story, you know, doing free education in America and, working hard for it, earning that. It's a great story. So I think I need to get you on my channel soon and do a podcast and learn from your story and how you did that. So it would be a great thing. So I would love to invite you there too. Yes.
sure, sure. Thank you. I will be glad to anytime you ask me. Yeah, to make that video. So okay, thank you so much. So we wish all the best to our viewers. If you like this video, please like and share our channel. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.